This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's a beautiful morning. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm hoping you had a beautiful night and that your Wednesday morning is going great, but the day has just begun. So in the event that you woke up on the wrong side of your bed, don't worry. It is just 6:32 a.m. So I believe that by the time this show is done at 9 a.m., you will be happy because guess what? Here on Good Morning Uganda, we are here to give you the best of your morning. It's not about us, it is about you. We prepare and organize and come to you with information that helps you to get through your day. Is it traffic updates? Do you need the best route to know how to maneuver through the roads of Kampala and of course the suburbs to know which best route to take? We take you there. Do you need information regarding forest race and what happened in the business markets the previous night? Yes, we will give you that information and of course so much more than that on the local and international scene. My name is Olive Monica Najima and I am joined by Chantal Olive Akandinda, Jerome Paul Sonko, and of course the man himself, Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono. Today he's donning a different color of a suit. I'm sure you're going to be surprised, but he looks very smart. Good morning, Jerome Paul.
Yes, good morning, Olive. You've mentioned something about waking up in the morning. Back in the time, I wasn't a morning person, but I've come to realize that if you wake up with a positive mindset in the morning, regardless of how you woke up or how the night was, it gives you, quite a good look of the day. And it's something that I actually need to tell all the Ugandans out there. Most of the times, there are people who are very moody in the morning. I don't know if you've ever, counteracted with most of these ones, but there are people who are always moody in the morning, and you wake up, try to say hello, good morning.
I'm actually, I'm those people. It's even surprising I'm doing a morning show because in most cases when I've just gotten out of my bed, please do not talk to me. I don't want you to talk to me.
You're moody in the morning.
When I've just woken up, but by the time I get to work, I am ready to attack the day.
Okay, that's a good one. To me, I feel it's the best way to start a morning. You just need to put yourself, it's more like a switch. You have to switch on your mind and be happy, feel positive, and maybe you never know.
Speaking of money, I know I'm not the only person that loves money. Of course, I'm a woman, that's why I'm saying. Many people usually say, oh, women love money as if men hate money. Good morning, Chantal Olive.
Good morning, Olive. How are you?
I'm great. Do you love money this morning?
Of course I do. She doesn't love money.
If you say
so, whatever
no,
you do, an extra $1, please. I can read the number.
Actually, if you had said no, you don't love money, I would be like, really?
It would be a lie. I can assure you. It would be a lie. But good morning, Ugandans. Thank you for joining us, and we are glad that you get to be part of this show. And we are looking forward to having wonderful conversations with you this morning.
That is Olive for you, and I am Olive again. Don't be shocked, we happen to be namesakes, but I am definitely not namesakes with Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono. He is wearing, ladies and gentlemen, a great
drum rolls.
suit. Good morning.
Well, of late I'm copying the Kenyan president.
Oh, okay.
He is one of the people who wear such. You know, sometime I was in Zambia, and when I reached in Zambia, all ladies were after me. So I was like, why are these young girls all interested in me? But then they had just had a president called Chiruba. I think it was Frederick Chiruba. He was my height mate. And in Zambia by then, short men were on market because it was called presidential height. So now I'm trying to copy the Kenyan president who wears this color, and I want to make it a habit. So when I go to Kenya, maybe it will be the same thing, because the sisters there will see a man puts on a color that their president usually likes. But I've worn red ties and I don't see people running after me as Donald Trump.
Who is running after
I don't see, I don't know why.
Stop mixing up issues, Chirabo.
I don't know why.
You're wreaking havoc this morning.
I don't know why, because
I would like to remind Chirabo that he's a married man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Just
he had forgotten that
you
bit of
see,
important
running,
information.
no, when people run after, it doesn't mean that you're going to accept it.
But you think
Because
you want to be run after.
No, because I know people run after the two girls we have here, the two beautiful
Well,
ladies
they
we have
happen
here.
not to be
well,
married.
they're single, so
They run after Olive Short and Olive Tall.
Oh gosh,
and
did you do that?
No, you're too
Anyway,
Olive, so
Chirabo, I will pardon you for calling me Olive Short. And speaking of pardons, the Democratic Party came out yesterday and said that they disagreed with the president's move to forgive or pardon Jimmy Ramafa, among the 200 people that were pardoned and are going to leave prison very soon. According to Uganda Young Democrats, they are saying that Ramafa is not the only old person that is languishing in prison, that there are many people out there that even had petty crimes but are languishing in prison. So a person that cost the country lots of money and aggrieved many Ugandans did not deserve to be pardoned. And I found that very strong. But of course, I am not here. I could be agreeing with them to a degree, but I wonder, Chantal, do you think this man deserved a pardon?
From the Christian perspective, everyone deserves a pardon. But maybe when you take it to the national level, you'd have to look at the consequences of this pardon, the implication in terms of what does it mean for other people that are perpetrators? What does it mean for those that will see a way out in a way, because maybe there might be a pardon going forward. So at the end of the day, we might want to consider certain factors, but well, everyone deserves a pardon. That's what
I think, in my opinion, one, first, there is a prerogative of mercy committee. The president just doesn't wake up and say we are going to pardon so and so.
That is true.
But when we talk about Jimmy Ramafa, that man had a lot of contribution to this country. At one time, he was the longest serving permanent secretary that Uganda had ever had.
Sure,
and,
we are not...
much as there were corruption scandals. And I want to tell you, these issues of corruption, why they are complicated and why we may not hold so much blame on certain people. There is syndicate corruption and there is so much. But one, it is a constitutional right. The president did not break any law.
No one said the president broke any law.
So, the moral fabric, you know, certain things that are moral, morals and legality differ.
But you see, you
can be
seem
morally
to be making an excuse for him because he was a long time serving.
That's a contribution to this nation.
He did have a contribution to this nation, but he took it away by stealing.
Under all terms, he qualifies because he had served about 3/3 of his sentence.
Then you should have
He's
finished the sentence.
Elder, he's old of age and all
He's
that.
not the only old person in
Chirabo,
prison.
we are not looking at it from that angle.
Yes.
We're having this conversation, especially on the grounds that what does this imply for the other perpetrators and those who hold such offices that are likely to do the same thing. We also have people that have been pardoned, or people that were not supposed to be holding public offices that are holding them now. What picture does it portray when it comes to things, governance in this country? That's what I'm trying to put forward.
It looks more like when you say this person has served the country for a given period of time, and so they deserve to be pardoned because at one point they did well. Let's remember the end. Let's not remember the means. Let's remember what did they do lastly.
8 billion is quite a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, so we should not look at it and brush it away and say, oh, because he served the nation. But anyway, the president had the right to, he had the powers to pardon this man. We can make all the noise we want to make about it. He's walking out free, but it still needs to be looked into because other Ugandans are in prison. There are people that have been languishing in prison. Remember the days where there was they used to arrest the youth over idle and disorderly, and some of them, it is reported that are still in prison, and one wonders why aren't they leaving. Over 1,800 had been submitted to be pardoned, but only 200 were pardoned. Anyway, that's how we've begun this morning. Obviously, Chantal, Olive, and I have agreed to disagree with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, but this happens every morning. And if you're just joining us, welcome. And if this is your first time, this is Good Morning Uganda. We do this every morning from 6:30 in the morning to 9 a.m. And right about now, we bring you the news on the international scene and on the local scene.
Now, let me begin with a move of government to transfer all its offices, agencies and departments to Webaja. Now, the Parliament wants government to expedite the implementation of the strategic plan to relocate all government, ministries, departments and agencies to Webaja as means of decreasing expenditure on renting office premises. This is contained among the 16 recommendations in the report of the Parliament's Sectorial Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on utilization of supplementary budget for 2021-2022 to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives for rent of new office premises. The committee also tasked the Inspectorate of Government to investigate the former Permanent Secretary, Grace Adong Chodwa, for initiating a supplementary budget outside the relevant procedure.
And moving on from that story, the Uganda Amnesty Commission has so far granted amnesty to 28,500 ex-combatants who openly denounce rebellion in various parts of the country. This positive gesture has contributed to a reduction in criminality. Among those granted amnesty are high-profile individuals who had committed atrocities, whether through recruitment, abduction, or personal choice. Nathan Twino, the chief legal advisor of the Amnesty Commission, emphasizes that amnesty is not extended to children who engage in rebel activities without consent. The Commission collaborates with courts to ensure a comprehensive process for considering candidates for amnesty. The process of granting amnesty involves consulting with individuals in areas where atrocities were committed, ensuring that candidates for amnesty are integrated into their communities.
And traffic in Fort Portal City went to a standstill as opposition National Unity Platform President Robert Kyagulanyi embarked on a nationwide Kunga Gwanga campaign. Crowds gathered on Fort Portal streets chanting praise songs to their party leader and the party in general. Party President Robert Kyagulanyi arrived in Fort Portal accompanied by other party members from different regions. A drive through the city center attracted crowds as NUP leader headed to Jubilee Radio for a 2-hour talk show. Party supporters gathered outside the premises with many listening on their cell phones. Party members walked to share Awakening Uganda campaign and peaceful political coexistence without any interference. They then opened party offices in Ruhandika Street and headed to Whispering Gardens.
And lastly, on the local scene, State Minister for Internal Affairs, Right Honorable retired General David Mohoz has commended State Minister for Internal Affairs, General David Mohoz, has commended the East African partner states for countering transactional threats on Lake Victoria. Mohoz says the joint efforts will curb organized crime carried out on the lake and foster economic growth. Lake Victoria is Africa's largest tropical freshwater lake, supporting livelihoods of over 40 million people living around the lake in the 3 East African countries. The lake provides potential for regional integration but faces climate-induced crises and transactional organized crime. The regional states benefiting from Lake Victoria have decided to merge through a project countering transactional threats on Lake Victoria by enhancing border security capacities and coordination between authorities in Kenya, Uganda, and the United Republic of Tanzania.
Crossing over to the international scene, the Wagner Group chief who died in a plane crash last week was buried at a cemetery in the outskirts of St. Petersburg. The funeral took place yesterday away from the glare of the media and in stark of contrast to the brazen, self-publicizing style with which Prigozhin had fanned his reputation far beyond Russia for ruthlessness and ambition. The farewell of Prigozhin took place in a closed format. Those who wish to say goodbye may visit the cemetery, and this was said by the press services in a short telegram post. Pictures published on social media showed Prigozhin's dark granite tombstone surrounded by a sea of flowers, mostly red roses, in the cemetery on the northeast edge of his hometown. Crossing over still in Russia, Russian transport aircraft have been reported damaged in a drone attack on an airport in Russia's western city located near the borders of Latvia and Estonia, where explosions, a large blaze and gunfire were reported, and this was according to a local official and state media. Now, Russia's state-run TAS news agency quoted emergency services saying early on Wednesday morning, which is today morning, 4 of 76 heavy transport aircrafts, which have long been the workhorse of the Russian military, were damaged at the airfield located roughly 800 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. The Defense Ministry is repelling a drone attack in the airport, and in the airport, the regional governor Mikhail said on the Telegram messaging app, posting a video of a large fire with sounds of explosions and sirens in the background. Coming back to Africa, police in Nigeria said yesterday they detained at least 67 people celebrating a gay wedding in one of the country's largest arrests targeting outlawed homosexuality. The gay suspects were arrested in southern Delta State's Ekpan town at about 2 a.m. on Monday at an event where 2 of them were wedded, State Police spokesman Bright Edafe told reporters. He added that homosexuality will never be tolerated in the West African nation. The Nigerian law banning gay marriage punishable by up to 14 years in prison and same-sex amorous relationships prompted an international outcry when it came into force under former President Goodluck Jonathan in 2014. And speaking matters climate, rice farmers in India are suffering a crisis as crops have been ruined due to climate change. According to CNN, newly planted saplings have been underwater since July after torrential rains battered India. Many farmers were forced to take out loans to replant their fields. In addition, last month, India, which is the world's largest exporter of rice, announced a ban on exporting non-basmati white rice in a bid to calm rising prices at home and ensure food security. India then followed with more restrictions on its rice exports, including a 20% duty on exports of parboiled rice. This has triggered fears of global food inflation since countries around the world are experiencing heightened food prices. That is it for the climate news and international news.
Thank you so much, Chantal, for that update in climate and international news. I'm wondering what Jerome Paul Sonko has for us from the New Vision.
Well, coming in regards to what is making headlines from our local dailies, a copy of the New Vision is having a huge headline here saying the Kasese attack, survivors chilling ordeal. So you will definitely be able to get what is happening in here as the New Vision continues to bring out what it investigated, or the outcome of the investigations, which shows women were part of the killers. Very terrible headline here. Furthermore, still with the New Vision, Green Schools project champions to be unveiled today. Which project is that? You can get more of that from the New Vision. Then Speaker among orders probe into members of Parliament bribery claims. That is also another one coming in from the August House. Then also the First Lady with a quote here: "Why feel duty bound to thank God?" There is more of that with the New Vision today. Then President Museveni and the Yoruba King discuss unity. The president was meeting the Yoruba King in Tungamo district. Then also Karamoja can feed the whole of Africa. This is according to revelations from Pastor Robert Kayanja, who is actually having more efforts to ensure that Karamoja stands up and is recognized as a strong regional basket. Then elsewhere, in regards to preparing your children for a third term, the parents, there is a new curriculum for Senior 2 English and Senior 3 Biology and Entrepreneurship. So that is it for the New Vision. Later on in the hour of 7, I'll be coming back to give you more details from the New Vision again and revisiting the Daily Monitor and also having what is making headlines across the region. For now, that is what the New Vision has in regards to the press review.
You know, there are things that happen and you think maybe at some point we will, put them at the back of our mind and move on. But the one thing as a country that we will take a long time to move away from is what happened to those students in Rubiriha Secondary School. And as Jerome Paul shared, it's new details keep emerging. Now we are hearing that some of the killers were women. And that saddens me because as a woman, I can't imagine myself causing pain to a child.
Women are bad people.
Women are bad. You said that under your breath. Say it again. Anyway, it was a sad thing that happened in that school, and I hope against hope and pray that it never happens again. Of course, I know that security has been, bumped up in different areas and parts of the country, and I'm sure that many in uniform will do their best to make sure that we are safe as a country and that our children are safe.
Also, Olive, there's something coming in from the Western Uganda that I wanted to just give a note regarding a gentleman aged 24 in Kisoro who was jailed for rape and murder.
Rape and murder?
Yeah.
At 24
so 35 years for rape and murder.
Wow.
He's someone who was actually, his name is Obed Afashimana, who was convicted by the Kabale High Court.
But you see, there is one thing I don't know. Now we are talking about the presidential pardon, which is a constitutional right. But in our law books, the death penalty still exists. And according to Uganda, the method we use, because there are a number of methods, it is death by hanging. And I'm told our gallows are very functional. So President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, this is a humble plea. As we pardon others, let's hang others as well.
Well, the president, as a Christian man, has over time said that he believes in having mercy and forgiving people for whatever they did. So he doesn't have the appetite to kill people that are in the coolers. He normally says people can reform, and that's why he keeps pardoning people every other year.
Well, sometimes I believe an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Because
that means
you
we're
can't
going to walk around with no eyes.
You kill someone, you rape someone first and foremost, then you kill that person. Look at this, so that vile babies. Why would that person go? You know, they dress when you're in prison. You're putting on a uniform paid by the taxpayers. When you fall sick, you're treated by our money.
You're fed.
You're fed. They secure to ensure you don't escape. You know, and all this. Why would such a person, if convicted by a competent court, that means beyond reasonable doubt, why should such a person leave?
Anyway, many questions, few answers, but I know that the president does what he sees fit. I mean, there is a reason why he's the leader of this nation. But speaking about this nation, Uganda will be hosting the Uganda-UAE Business Summit, and it will take place between the 10th and 13th of October. Now, when we come back, we will be hosting a special guest to delve deeper into the rationale of this summit. And we are asking you to join this conversation by sharing your opinions on how best Ugandan business can benefit from this forum. For now, we will leave you with the inspiration song of the day, and we'll be right back.
UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
That were pardoned and are going to leave prison very soon. According to Uganda Young Democrats, they are saying that Ramafa is not the only old person that is languishing in prison, that there are many people out there that even had petty crimes but are languishing in prison. So a person that cost the country lots of money and aggrieved many Ugandans did not deserve to be pardoned. And I found that very strong. But of course, I am not here. I could be agreeing with them to a degree, but I wonder, Chantal, do you think this man deserved a pardon?
From the Christian perspective, everyone deserves a pardon. But maybe when you take it to the national level, you'd have to look at the consequences of this pardon, the implication in terms of what does it mean for other people that are perpetrators? What does it mean for those that will see a way out in a way, because maybe there might be a pardon going forward. So at the end of the day, we might want to consider certain factors, but well, everyone deserves a pardon. That's what I think, in my opinion, one, first, there is a prerogative of mercy committee. The president just doesn't wake up and say we are going to pardon so and so.
That is true.
But when we talk about Jimmy Ramafa, that man had a lot of contribution to this country. At one time, he was the longest serving permanent secretary that Uganda had ever had.
Sure,
and,
we are not...
much as there were corruption scandals. And I want to tell you, these issues of corruption, why they are complicated and why we may not hold so much blame on certain people. There is syndicate corruption and there is so much. But one, it is a constitutional right. The president did not break any law.
No one said the president broke any law.
So, moral fabric, you know, certain things that are moral, morals and legality differ.
But you see, you
can be
seem
morally
to be making an excuse for him because he was a long time serving.
He had a contribution to this nation.
He did have a contribution to this nation, but he took it away by stealing.
Under all terms, he qualifies because he had served about 3/3 of his sentence.
Then you should have finished the sentence.
He's old of age and all
He's
that.
not the only old person in prison.
We are not looking at it from that angle.
Yes.
We're having this conversation, especially on the grounds that what does this imply for the other perpetrators and those who hold such offices that are likely to do the same thing. We also have people that have been pardoned, or people that were not supposed to be holding public offices that are holding them now. What picture does it portray when it comes to things, governance in this country? That's what I'm trying to put forward.
It looks more like when you say this person has served the country for a given period of time, and so they deserve to be pardoned because at one point they did well. Let's remember the end. Let's not remember the means. Let's remember what did they do.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Granny.
What did you do this weekend?
Well, on Friday, I went on a science trip with my classmates to Windy to see the gorillas. Then we watched the Cup final in London.
Oh.
On Saturday, my friends and I met up to hunt some dragons again. Also, I taught the vacuum cleaner and the TV this new dance everyone's doing. They're really getting into it. And on Sunday, I went to bed watching the world from space. And you? Yes, seriously, Granny.
With Airtel 5G's lightning-fast speeds and seamless connectivity, you won't believe what's next.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, welcome back to Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma here with Chantal Olive Kandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko, the man who likes to call himself JP as if JP Morgan. But welcome. JP Chane. Welcome back. This is Good Morning Uganda. If you have just joined us, this is the time, the hour of 7, where we delve deeper into certain issues. And this morning on the table is the Uganda-UAE Business Forum. Now, you know that Uganda has been hosting these forums between itself and the UAE, and there have been achievements of note that the country has gotten through these forums. And today we would like to ask you, we are asking you kindly to join this conversation and share your opinions on how best Ugandan businesses can benefit from these forums. Right now, Uganda is slated to host the Uganda-UAE Business Forum, and it is going to take place between the 10th and 13th of October 2023. Now, if you are Ugandan and you're running a business, you would like to be part of this because due to the bilateral relationships between Uganda and the UAE, the country was last year able to sign business deals worth $2 billion, and that is a step in the right direction. Of course, the other things have been noted, like remittances have grown from about 500 from 200 remittances grew from $50 million in 2018 to $200 million in 2022. By remittances, I mean money that comes in from Ugandans in working and living in the UAE to Uganda. So when you think about it, these forums have benefited the country. But of course, we'll delve deeper into that. And for the start, I would like to know from you, Joram Paul Sonko, what is the main objective of this forum?
I think the main objective is for Ugandans to present themselves or to have opportunities to sell their commodities to the UAE, and also create room for the people in the UAE to introduce themselves to the Ugandan market. I want to believe the people in the UAE, or those who are doing businesses from let's say Dubai, most of them are actually already having ready market in Uganda, because the way we appreciate goods that come from from outside countries is way up there. But this is also going to be giving us an advantage as a country, where business people from Uganda, or mainly those in the private sector, because earlier with the business forums that have actually been happening in the UAE, where Ugandan private sector players or representatives were going in there together with government officials, to ideally try to understand the market in UAE and what Uganda can present on the market as well. We looked at the fact that, for example, the Dubai Expo, I remember the Dubai Expo of 2020, where 2021, where Ugandans were all over social media saying, is this what we can only offer for the Dubai market? But only, this is something that the Ugandan private sector or the Ugandan Trade Ministry identified as a space where we can easily tap in, or something that we have market for in UAE. So among us, this not only at the backdrop of the Dubai Expo of that particular year, it was actually the Dubai Expo of 2020, but it only took place in 2021 due to COVID.
Yes.
But following up on the same issue here, having a representative from the UAE coming to Uganda, this is to increase the bilateral relations. Let me not even be too wordy for that. It is to increase the bilateral relations between the two countries, especially rotating around the business angles, because it is a win-win for the both of us. If Uganda has market for their goods, as we continue to push for value addition, we can export to the UAE. So even if they're also exporting to Uganda, or we are importing from them, it is a win-win for it's a win for them, and also a win for us as we continue to export. And also that is expansion of markets, really, for the both of us. So it's high time the Ugandan business people tried so much to focus more on such forums or even summits that are always bringing in different delegates or different business people that are away from Africa.
And to add on to what Sonko just said, the fact that our relations with business, especially business relations with the UAE, are really great at the moment. You're looking at improving, aside from initially, you looked at sectors like agribusiness. You also looked at sectors like energy, minerals, among others. But right now, we are extending it. You're looking at oil and gas. You are looking at automotive. You're looking at telecommunication. You're looking at tourism. And a number of other sectors and other business aspects that we could look at and explore as a country that is growing. And at one point, Uganda was more developed than the UAE. So
and now the UAE is more developed than us, so there is something for us to pick from there.
So definitely, this is a very good opportunity for us as a country to gain so much.
And in January of this year, while addressing while addressing the UAE business community, the president of this nation, that is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, he said this was during the Uganda-UAE Presidential Initiative on Investment Summit in the UAE capital of Abu Dhabi. The president invited Arab UAE investors to come into Uganda and invest. And he said, I quote, "Come and take advantage of the many untapped opportunities available in the country." Now, a certain Ugandan out there may be saying, why investors? But you see, it's like when you own a prime piece of land by the road, and maybe KCCA has said, in this place you can only develop a storied building, but you do not have the money to develop that piece of land. So what's the best way? In most cases, you will sell that land to someone that is in position to develop it and create different opportunities for different people.
Right.
So by the president inviting investors from UAE, and we know that this is one of the fastest growing economies in the country, to come and invest here, it works actually for Ugandans, and of course it works for the UAE. But let's look at Ugandans. There will be business opportunities, there will be job opportunities, so everyone wins, everyone is happy.
And you know, when you talk about investment, the issue I've seen with us Ugandans is that when the president is calling for investors, we seem to think that the president is saying, let someone come and take over the industry or whichever industry in the country. But think about mergers. Think about acquisitions. Think about those partnerships that we could put in place. I was having a conversation with someone who does not come from this country, and this person was telling me, I have tried to eat food around Kampala. The food is good. He named specific places that had good food, but then said, there is a particular place we have in my country, and I would love them to invest here because you know, people who really like to eat the foodies, they will tell you dessert is a very important part. So he was like, these people specialize in dessert. When you eat Ugandan dessert, some restaurants don't know how to do it very well. So he says, how about we get this company in my country to come and you know, get an investor who can buy a franchise. So you realize that it's not just about someone coming and buying your piece of land and constructing or putting an industry or something like that. It could go way bigger than that. It could be a merger. I mean, if you have your money, if you're complaining that why they're calling investors, connect with those people who are coming and buy a franchise and set up something in the country. Let's broaden our minds to the bigger possibilities instead of locking ourselves in one closet of investors are coming to take our land, to take our jobs and everything that we always complain about. So this is a chance for us to be more open-minded.
Exactly, because currently Uganda's economy is growing at 6% per annum, but then the economy has great potential. And actually, I agree with the president. Uganda is a gold mine. There is a lot of untapped potential in this country, but the only way we can benefit from that is when we open our minds to new things, to investments, to bilateral agreements with other countries. And of course, because back in the day, many Ugandans left the country to go to countries like the United States, the UK, to, you know, make a living, greener pastures. But we have seen over the last 10 years, and I'm trying to be narrow, we've seen many Ugandans move to the United Arab Emirates, and they have made something of themselves. So much so that remittances have grown from $50 million to now $200 million, and that was in 2022. Because I know that during this forum, we will know the new numbers, and of course the $2 billion that was signed, worth of deals that were signed last year. So speaking still of the same, of the achievements from last year, I would like to know more, Jerome Paul, what other achievements did we benefit from the previous forums?
Well, I want to also look at the fact that, first and foremost, it gave us a starting point to countries where we've seen President Museveni this year visiting Algeria. We've seen the president moving to Serbia, because this comes at the backdrop. I won't entirely say it wasn't in plan, but this comes at the backdrop that we can ideally tap into various markets. So it was a very key starting point for us as the other discussions continue, obviously. But like you've mentioned, currently we have many Ugandans, by the way, who are having who have investments that are mainly in the UAE, and most of them are even employing fellow Ugandans, surprisingly. So which is something that gives confidence. I think first it gave confidence to the Ugandan investors that now with the UAE and Uganda, the relations are there and they are going to be more strengthened. So that means if we are to continue trading, especially those who yearn to do cross-border trade, this comes as a very, very huge opportunity. Though there is one thing I've come to notice as well. During these summits and, of course, these other related forums, there's an element of excluding some of the key players within the private sector. And most of them feel that at times the private sector sends in, let's say, representatives, of which the representatives may be from the high core and yet are not active in what is happening. So I think we also need to ideally try to extensively bring these people into these conversations. I'm looking at people who are trading. We have quite a number of Ugandans who import goods, for example, from countries like China. Now we have
Dubai
many
itself.
who are doing Dubai. Others even take planes themselves, return from Dubai with their own goods. But then most of them are never included into these forums and summits.
Actually, when you mention that, it takes me back to the Business Expo of 2020 that was held in 2021. And one thing I remember, even from one of the participants, the lady who owns, that is Maxima Cimenta, who owns Livara. Livara is a local company that produces hair products from raw shea butter. And she was one of the people that were showcasing their products at the Dubai Expo. And I remember one of the things she said, you can even find it online, she wrote and said that the people that were invited were very few from the private sector. And she said that there was a lot of disorganization and inconsideration by those that were supposed to organize this event. And that explained us having what? Boxes of Lato milk. And tea leaves.
Yes.
And so what her main point was, like Joram Paul said, her main point was that when something like this is happening, it is benefiting the entire country. Exactly. Let it not be just isolated to a few people in government. Bring everyone, every player in the sector on the table and organize something substantial together. Because when you went to the other I don't want to call them tents, exhibition places, points of other countries, honestly speaking, what we had to showcase was embarrassing.
Well, I think embarrassing is too hard for a word. Because you know why I'm saying embarrassing is too hard for the word. I think
it was lazy.
Maybe, but we were able to showcase something that we can sustain
Paul,
for the starters.
Politically correct.
Okay, we were able to expose something that we would sustain for the longevity of time, if you come to think of it.
Think about it this way.
There was also an argument, which I still stand by, that regardless of the fact that other countries were presenting, we all agree we needed to up our game. But the issue is, when you look at the incompetence in some of the sectors that we have, had we even tried or had we even dared to put anything in relation to that, we would have been entirely
But that
exposed.
should be concerning. That should be concerning that we are even fearful of moving a step further because there is a lot of incompetence. There shouldn't be incompetence because taxpayers are not paying for incompetence.
You see what I was saying? Tomato, lazy, embarrassing, same thing. Same thing. See, when you're talking about these summits and forums and exhibitions, get back down to how is this information disseminated? Get back down to the criteria, get back down to what does it take? And also do note that Uganda being a growing economy, you may not have everyone in the private sector or the biggest percentage of people in the private sector understanding the relevance of such a summit, especially when it's out of the country. Look at how much they would have to put in for them to be able to be at the previous one. But I'm hoping that since this is in Uganda, we have more people exhibiting, we have more people open to the idea, and I'm hoping that we get to really be more organized and showcase what we have. I recently had a conversation with someone and I told them, listen, however small your company is, be organized. Make sure that everything is in order. Be professional. Have systems in place. You will realize that those are the basics when it comes to how your business can grow. But if we do not have that, that's when you're going to keep missing out on the opportunities that could be in such places because we're not organized as business people or even as a country. So get back down to even the way people start businesses. I'm going to look at Olive. She has a boutique. She has a boutique, and I'm like, she has a boutique. She sells this much, gets clothes from here. I think I can do the same thing.
And those are assumptions. In most cases, people don't go to the ground to do the research and find out if Livara produces hair products, how do they do it? How much has been the investment? What is the scope of production? And all those questions. You just say, they did it. I think it's easy. I have the cash. I'll do it. So these forums, I hope, by the way, I need to ask, when we do these forums, is there some kind of, what kind of business knowledge is shared?
Most of the business ideas that are shared, I'll use in the context of the Uganda-Turkey Summit that happened last year, is most of these business people come to showcase at times. They showcase the products they have. They take you through the journey of how they started. The advantage that they have is they have the families, or what you could say, their businesses stay for a long time than ours. And what they normally share is how to build a business empire. I've come to realize, because for example, if you're to look at the UAE and Uganda, according to details, UAE rather is Uganda's biggest market partner or biggest trading partner within the Middle East. So clearly that shows you the importance of it. But then, like Chantal mentioned, there was a time where we were ahead of the UAE. But then how they've been able to utilize their weaknesses to become their strength is something that we still need to, benchmark. For example, looking at the fact that it is entirely a desert, and making sure that they are making good use of it, to become an attractive space for people to visit, for people to invest in. I think first and foremost, the biggest thing is benchmarking on how to, build a business empire. We lack that here in Uganda. Most of our businesses, even the strongest, are either just surviving, but they're not worth being called empires, simply because the owner of the business will tell you, I've only started gaining profits after 20 years or after 30 years. And those are the few business enterprises that have stayed for that long. So, but for the others, you will find in the UAE, a business person who's having a business of 10 years, making endless profits here and there. And it's something that provides, an opportunity for Ugandans to understand these ideas, how to execute them into their own businesses.
One thing I appreciate about some of these countries is that most of their businesses or their work is on the basis and foundation of family and legacy. And that is something we're also lacking here. You will find a family business that has grown over the years from one branch to another, one country to another, but it all started from the family. Look at how Indians run their businesses. And I mean, when you walk around some businesses, even in Kampala, you realize that they'll tell you, if you want your business well managed, get an Indian. You understand? Because they're groomed like that from the word go, from childhood. Family, business, we are building an empire, and if someone is trying to even mess with that, you're messing with a family. That means the whole family is going to be coming at you. But then we lack that. Also, look at the other reasons as to why we create businesses in the country. Or, I mean, Sonko, if you were to start a business right now, what would be the first thing that comes to your mind?
If I'm to start, I think what will come to my mind is there is the fear of making sure it will stay for long. And also the taxes that are available.
That are levied on you.
That are levied. So those are some of the things that will hit my mind immediately, even before I think of the longevity.
And those things that would come to your mind are usually the same reason why some businesses never start. They never take off, because every time someone thinks about starting a business, then they think about all these negative things that might come up when they start the business. So it stays in their mind. A very brilliant idea, but it never sees fruition until you talk to someone who has been able to take the risk, and then later on you come up and say, someone stole my idea. But would like for you to join this conversation, and today we are asking you to share your opinion on how best Ugandan businesses can benefit from the upcoming Uganda-UAE Business Forum, and of course forums of this nature. You can share your opinion on WhatsApp number 0709602592, and on the X app you can share your opinion on through the hashtag UBCGMU. The question again that we are asking, if you're just joining us, is how best can Ugandan businesses benefit from the upcoming Uganda-UAE Business Forum? And again, the WhatsApp number is 0709602592. We would like to hear from you and know what your opinion is on this important matter, because business is the heart and heartbeat of the nation. We cannot survive without businesses, because how will we make money? We need to make money somewhere.
There is also an element of expanding our exports with these business forums in general, by the way, because expansion of exports, we are always trying to balance our economy in a way that we are exporting a lot more than, rather we import more than we export.
Now, speaking of expansion of our exports and maybe even our imports, but mainly our exports, because we gain more when we export.
Yes.
Which key, would you mind sharing with us what key sectors of interest, for instance, this Uganda-UAE Business Forum is focusing on, or which key sectors can benefit largely from bilateral relations between Uganda and the UAE?
I think it's mainly the agro industry, agro-processing industry, because as the president is pushing for value addition, and a couple of times we say Uganda's agricultural sector is the backbone of the economy. Though the main participants or the people on ground rarely benefit. But if you're to look at the fact that we have that in plenty, because we were really naturally blessed with the same, you get to realize that it is where we can start from, agro-processing. Because we have the raw materials, and now industries are being set up in the country to add value. I think, for example, when you look at the powdered milk that we showcased during the Dubai Expo, that caused controversies. You get to realize that at least that is naturally made from here. Maybe the additives are not made from here, but at least we have
the raw material.
We have the raw materials. We do have the the other day we were having an issue with Chantal. I was telling her we do have the cows in the country.
Oh, we do have the cows.
We do have the cows. So because we have the raw materials, and of course the industries
are there.
And
now we have the finished product,
we also have
which
the finished
is powdered
product.
milk.
Yes, and we also have coffee, of which coffee is also something that is on high demand in such markets. So these are things why I'm looking at the agro industrial, development or agro-processing business, is because this is where our potential really lies. I don't want us to look at science and technology as of now, because we are yet to tap in there.
We can also...
Oil and gas is also open.
Yes, I was going to say we can also look at oil and gas sector,
because
tourism.
their economy has actually been shaped around the oil and gas sector. Now we can benchmark from them and then look at it as a game changer for our economy. Actually,
we have to benchmark on the UAE when it comes to oil and gas, because like you've been saying, we were once richer and more developed than this country. And one thing that spiraled their economy out of control is their oil, right? They knew how best to capitalize on it, and they are where they are today because of that. And now that we are about to start on our oil journey, this is going to be a very good move in the right direction. So the oil and gas sector of Uganda will benefit so much with collaborations with countries like the UAE, because at least we know that oil has been the bedrock of development in this country. But also there is tourism. Yes, many Ugandans today travel. One of the #1 destinations for tourism for Ugandans is the UAE. But I would like to know if it is also, Uganda is also becoming a tourism destination for many tourists from the UAE.
For now, we may not be able to zero down to whether we have a number of tourists coming in from many of them coming in from there. But around December, especially close to 31st, if you want to find your village mates, you're likely to find them in Dubai. I was telling someone, if you want to go to Dubai and you don't want to greet people around, please don't go during December, because you will actually find very many Ugandans there. And I'm hoping that when we have this expo happening, in our country, then we have a chance to showcase what we have, and we have a chance to, sometimes there is a lot of information out there that is actually not good. If I went on social media and all I'm talking about is the bad things that are happening in Uganda, best believe whoever wants to know right now, whoever wants information even about you as an individual, the first place they'll go to is social media. So I'm hoping that this will open the minds of the people of UAE and any other country, actually, to know that Uganda is a very beautiful country, and tourism is a place we have tried our level best, by to invest in. When you look at the different tourism centers that we have, the different places, the lodges that have been put in place, the hotels that have been put in place, you're going to realize that we have really tried to invest in that industry. Talk about the logistics, the transport bit that is involved in there as well. Even the food itself, you're going to realize that we have tried to invest in that area. So let's position ourselves to be able to tap into the fact that the economy has grown, some of these industries have grown, so that means we are in place to actually showcase what we have, and we're able to, one, get investors, two, get business from these people.
I think with even this this forum that is coming up, the people who are into the labor externalization business or department or sector, whatever it can be named, should as well utilize this space to understand what is happening on ground, because we currently don't have a written bilateral between Uganda and the UAE in relation to Ugandans working from there. So I think this again is going to be reinforcing or making a statement for those who are actually externalizing labor to the UAE to at least set out their particular issues in written or even in words, because you have representatives coming in from the UAE. These are all things that we will be discussing, and because it has also become a business in Uganda.
Exactly, and of course an opportunity for Ugandans who are trying to make much more than they would make back at home. But going back a bit onto the agro-processing and agriculture being our main product of export, agricultural products being our main products of export to countries like the UAE, it is said that there is ready market for Ugandan agricultural products out there. But the question is, do we have direct links between farmers and the UAE.
Do we also have sustainable and stable sources of these products? It's going to be very terrible to start.
The sustainable and stable sources are there. There are Ugandans growing, let's say, for instance, what can I use as an example? Let's say coffee. Maybe, let's say, soybeans, okay? Which products do we have? Is it vanilla? Is it shea butter? Whatever products that we have that comes from the agriculture sector. But some of them have these products and they're selling them at a very cheap price because they do not have links with markets outside the country. So the few people that are exporting are monopolizing this and actually exploiting the farmers. So I am hoping that this forum can actually address issues like that, where farmers can have direct links. They may know who to contact, where to go when they have a product.
There was actually a conversation I was following regarding farmers and people who are investing in the export. In most cases, one of the exporters was confident enough and honest enough to say, I am in this business because I'm a businessman. So you do not expect me to know the technicalities of farming and things. So to him, his is to push the farmers. Like I did mention at times, these particular farmers who put in the hard work and never benefiting directly. And this is where the issue of sustainability comes in. What affects our markets is sustainability and quality. Because at times, we may have markets, because once these countries give you the market, they expect a given
steady supply.
Yes. They don't want to hear things of, you know, this time around because of this and this.
No excuses.
Yeah, because things have changed. There's a lot of modernization in agriculture. You can beat up even seasons with irrigation, for example.
Yes.
So when you look at it, the issue of sustainability, if, for example, you have to export tons of milk, or let's say powdered milk, to the UAE, and you fail to deliver, they start looking for alternative markets. And then also the quality. What we face in Uganda is at times our quality of goods, even when you look at the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy, what is affecting us is
the quality
of goods is never sustained, even here in Uganda. Because the more someone's market expands, they cease to control the quality. I think
they become lazy. Complacent.
Now they start thinking of more money instead of even the quality they give out.
Making the product even better.
Instead of looking at how can I make the product better to attract even more markets that will give me more money, regardless of how small I'm providing. But we tend to focus on the quantity. The more we expand, we lose the markets.
And the more we export. And I think that's why we have had issues like aflatoxins in our maize and our maize products being banned from countries like Kenya. We have had that back and forth 1 month or 2 or 3 we are exporting, then suddenly we are not, and then recently it was South Sudan. So we as Ugandans, as we go for these forums, we need to understand that in as much as the government is trying to make ready markets for us, is our product up to the standards of these economies where we are trying to, you know, penetrate? Because some places substandard doesn't work.
I can assure you, for an economy like the UAE, you can't afford
to be
to have substandard products. 2, you cannot afford inconsistency. And the truth is, when you come back to Uganda, we have a lot of that. Either we are not poor enough to realize that we need to get consistent, or we are still playing around. We are still in this business of daily bread. Eating to survive for the day, and then tomorrow we shall start again to hustle. You understand? You hand to mouth, which should be a very wrong mentality that we need to get rid of. So at the end of the day, now it's, I mean, the expos, the event the forum has come to us. Are we ready as Ugandans to tap into the opportunities that come with it? The previous forum, a lot was discussed in terms of investment, especially investment opportunities in the country. Talk about agro-processing or agriculture, talk about oil and gas, and insurance, which is very important, but we haven't even given it as much attention as we should. You realize that we have a lot of work to do as a country. But because, you know, I told you about however small your company is or your organization is or business is, if you are organized, you are in play, you are positioning yourself to tap into these things. The unfortunate bit is we lack consistency, and that is going to really keep us, you know, we're going to keep stagnant if we don't work out some of those things.
We need to change our attitude when it comes to business. I'd like for you to join. I'm calling you again to join this conversation. And this morning, the question we are asking in relation to the Uganda-UAE Business Forum that is slated to take place on the 10th of October 2023 to the 13th of October 2023. Would like to know your opinion regarding how best Ugandan businesses can benefit from the upcoming Uganda-UAE Business Forum. How best can Ugandan businesses benefit from the upcoming Uganda-UAE Business Forum? You can join us through the X app. The hashtag is UBCGMU, and of course the phone number for WhatsApp, if you'd like to text us on WhatsApp, is 0709602592. Would like to know your opinion regarding this. Now, speaking about exports and how these forums have benefited us as a country, it is said that foreign direct investment from UAE increased from $300 million in 2018 to approximately $3 million in 2022.
Yeah.
That is quite a jump. Very impressive. But we can do better if we are all in this, and with the right attitude and mindset and the right products and services, we can actually go beyond $3 million. But this was a good one. And of course, it is said that exports to the United Arab Emirates increased from $600 million to $2 billion in 2022. That was still good. So Ugandans are out there making our country very proud. And of course, like we have shared, the United Arab Emirates is the leading market destination for exports in the Gulf Cooperation countries. What does this mean? That if we buckle up and we have the right products and the right attitude and the right mindset, we as a country, as Uganda, we can benefit so much from this, from trading with this country. So like Chantal said, even if your business is small, try to look out for how best the opportunities you can get for it and grow it. And we need to expand our mindset and, you know, welcome the idea of trading with countries that are even beyond East Africa or even Africa itself. And this is an opportunity for us all as Ugandans in the world of business to embrace, because there is something we can learn from this. And of course, like I shared in the beginning, this is Uganda has also benefited from remittances. Remittances are usually monies sent in by Ugandans living and working in a certain country. Now, remittances for Ugandans living and working in the United Arab Emirates were about $50 million in 2018, and right now they are at $200 million. This is good. Impressive. Chantal, it's like you're burning to say something.
Oh, no, not at all. But I'm really looking forward. This is an economy we can really benchmark on. If we are organized, if we position ourselves properly, and we need to, as a country, for example, especially the leaders, when you take it away from the individuals, the leaders of the different sectors, the leaders of the different institutions, if we sat down and had a strategy on which of the sectors we can, you know, we can develop more, then we would know what to front and what to advocate for. So we can get the guidance of our leaders in the different sectors, but also as individuals get on the wagon to be able to make sure that we tap into these opportunities that are coming. They are finding us in our country, so I hope we are ready for this.
Okay, so today the question we've been asking is how best can Ugandan businesses benefit from the upcoming Uganda-UAE Business Forum? And we have some views coming in. The first one is from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye Luwafu. He says, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If Uganda strengthens its bilateral agreements with the United Arab Emirates, it's good for both parties because they can both tap into into each other's development. As we know, it takes two to tango. I see steps to success being stepped at, but however, we need to first work on our weaknesses as a country. Trust me, the biggest export we offer to the United Arab Emirates currently is labor, and he means human labor. And this is what comes into most people's minds whenever they hear about the United Arab Emirates. Most of our fellows go to those countries desperately, not willingly as such, because desperate times call for desperate measures. And still torture cases are rising. Let Ugandans first work home and make it suitable. Let Uganda, I think it means let the government first work on issues at home, make it suitable for the local workers. Secondly, let our government not act blind to the torture cases in the United Arab Emirates before they dive more in their so-called relationship. It might seem betrayal to us seeing our top leaders having intimacy with the people who at some point violate our rights. Thank you so much, Cricket Derek Gargamel, regarding this. One thing I know for sure is that the government has had talks and has done its best to ensure that cases of torture that have been reported over the years regarding Ugandan labor workers in the Gulf countries have reduced. And most of these cases have been in countries that are actually beyond United Arab Emirates. But still, thank you so much for your opinion. And I will close this by reading this comment from Stephen. He says he is watching from Bulenga, Nakaonde. And he says, for sure, Ugandans, we have to wake up because we are setting hell for our grandchildren. I think he means we need to really work hard, because if we don't, then it's not going to be a good place to live for our grandchildren. And I agree with that. We need to wake up. We need to work hard, because that's the only way our country will get from one place to another. Steady progress. This is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Nejema, and I have been delving into this issue with Chantal Olive Akandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko. We will be right back with traffic updates and, of course, another review of the local dailies and papers from the East African countries of Kenya and Tanzania.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Granny.
What did you do this weekend?
Well, on Friday, I went on a science trip with my classmates to Windy to see the gorillas.
Then we watched the Cup final in London. On Saturday, my friends and I met up to hunt some dragons again. Also, I taught the vacuum cleaner and the TV this new dance everyone's doing. They're really getting into it. And on Sunday, I went to bed watching the world from space. And you? Yeah, seriously, Granny.
With Airtel 5G's lightning-fast speed and seamless connectivity, you won't believe what's next.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times Channel 201, Zuku TV Channel 20, and Azam TV Channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma here to take you through the traffic updates for this morning. Now, if you're coming from the areas of Bulenga and of course going through Busega and Natete to Kabusu, I'd like to help you out on the details regarding traffic this morning from that area. And of course, we will pick it up from Bulenga around Costalina. And around this area, it looks like people that side are getting onto the road. So around this area, there is a little bit of a traffic build around this area. And of course, moving on around Bulenga Market, the traffic eases up, but just for a little bit, because up ahead, right after the market, then it starts building up and it becomes a red zone that indicates that the traffic is now becoming more intense as you approach the Busega roundabout. Now, around the roundabout, yes, there is a traffic build-up as different people are trying to get through that area to access the northern bypass, the express, heading to Busega. And of course, shortly after, there is the Busega roundabout after you've gone through Bulenga, and now you're trying to join either the express highway or the northern bypass, or you're going into Natete. Around that area, there is a bit of traffic build-up, especially Chengera town. And of course, as you move along, then the traffic actually eases up. So between Busega and Chengera town, there is smooth flow of traffic until you reach the area that goes to Natete Tax Park. Now around here, the traffic, there is a bit of a build-up, but nothing to worry about. So you will be able to move smoothly. Of course, there will be a few traffic hold-ups here and there, as some people coming in from these feeder roads like Nakauka Road are trying to join the main road, because I see here the intersection between Natete Make Road and Nakauka Road, there is a bit of traffic build-up, but that's because people are trying to join the main road, so that will cost you a few minutes. But still moving along, still through Natete, there is a traffic flow, or a smooth flow of traffic around the areas of Nalukolongo. The road looks pretty good, so you won't be held up as you continue ahead. Now, when we reach the intersection between Nalukolongo and of course Sembule Road, the Sembule Road as it joins the main road, the road still looks pretty good. This morning, this area, many people are moving. I think they either moved very early, or because now children are not in school, the area looks pretty good. And of course, when you continue ahead in Indeba, you will find some bit of traffic there because of the many roads that are coming through from Chibuye, from Entebbe Road. Yes, so there you will find some bit of traffic. It will hold you up for a bit, but even when you reach the Chibuye roundabout, apart from the traffic that is coming in from the main Entebbe highway, which is, by the way, intense, when you reach the roundabout and you move into the road that goes to Ndeba, actually there is smooth flow of traffic, and it looks good from the areas coming in from Queensway, so you will be able to access the city center in record time. That's it for traffic updates. Olive, Monica, Najima, and back to you, Jerome Paul Sonko.
For the traffic updates for the people who are moving into Kampala, I normally call it traffic madness in the morning, simply because there is a lot of what is happening in the morning. But nonetheless, let's get into what is happening from the press review this particular morning. Just a quick revisit to the Daily Monitor today. President Museveni gifts to clan heads splits Uganda. That is what the Daily Monitor has today morning. Furthermore, don't criminalize cat growing, says Bobby Wine. More of that report in the Daily Monitor today. Government ministries clash over allowances. Which ministries are those? You can get more of that in the Daily Monitor today. Investigations have now started in Turo over 1,000 acre of land. A speaker among pins trade committee in bribery scandal. So the Daily Monitor is giving you more of that this particular morning. Now, furthermore, as we revisit the New Vision to look at what is making headlines in there, the New Vision has a big one saying Kasese attack, survivors chilling ordeal. As in the New Vision investigations, women were part of the killers, according to the findings of the same. Then President Museveni and the Yoruba king meet and discuss unity. That and more of the report is in the New Vision today. Then Karamoja can feed the whole of Africa, reveals Pastor Robert Kayanja. There's more of that report still with the New Vision. Then this Green Schools project champions will be unveiled today. You can get more of that still with the New Vision. Then Speaker among orders probing two members of Parliament bribery claims. And then the First Lady says why we feel duty bound to thank God. Now, across the region, the Daily Nation in Kenya highlights smart or reckless. President is wrath. President William Ruto is a man on a mission to deliver on his campaign promises and the expectations of many Kenyans hoping for a break from the high cost of living. There's a detailed report looking at what the manifesto of President William Ruto and how far he has come to achieve it. Then tough times as Kenyans withdraw 30.8 billion shillings savings from SACCOs. That is an alarm to the Kenyan economy, which has actually been struggling at the start of this very year. And of course, also the changing face of police uniforms. More of that report with the Daily Nation today, as Babu walks free in DJ's shooting case. And in business, Kenya Airways losses double on debt and weak shilling. Now, lastly, from our press review across the region, obviously, is the Citizen newspaper from Tanzania. LATRA identifies 6 regions for cable transport. LATRA is the Land Transport Regulatory Authority in Tanzania, which is aiming at looking at cable transport, inclusive of which the Kilimanjaro region. Now, government also withdraws revision of natural resources laws in Tanzania, as East Africa is set to benefit from Ethiopia BRICS entry. That is according to what the envoy has got to identify. Now, elsewhere, besides the press review, there is some interesting news for those who are ideally interested in the Uganda's Securities Exchange. Surprisingly now, we do have a new entrant
who is highly expected to get listed by the end of this year. And this is the second telecommunications company in the country in Airtel Uganda. Following MTN Uganda being listed, the MTN Group being listed in December of 2021 as the first telecommunications company in Uganda on the Securities Exchange, Airtel will be the second listed telecoms company, and according to Airtel Uganda, they aim to raise 800 billion Ugandan shillings. That's approximately 216 million by selling a 20% stake, which is likely to drive its expansion plans. That is according to what the telecommunications company revealed yesterday at the reveal, when they were revealing that they will be listing on the Uganda Securities Exchange. That was happening at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel yesterday. Now, the managing director told the news conference that they offer 8 billion shares and they will start and immediately close on the 13th of October. If you remember so well back then, where MTN had opened and you would buy or purchase a share at 200 shillings. They had actually given some huge time frame. Airtel has only given 1 day from the 30th to the 30th, obviously. So they will be announced on 30th and will definitely be listed on the 31st of October, according to a prospectus in there. So those who are following up on that particular matter, we shall be giving you more details still with our GMU business update. Now, furthermore, let's talk the oil and gas sector in Uganda as it's continuing to take a different twist. Now, nearly a week after unveiling their 50 trillion shilling ambitions. Remember now NSSF has a new managing director after Patrick Ayota was appointed. They are now looking at entering into a partnership with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development to tap into the nascent oil and gas sector for membership growth, as they are looking at making at least the employers and regulators and other players who are into the oil and gas sector to at least, partner with NSSF to grow the membership. Quite a good move from the National Social Security Fund, if you are to ask me. Now, as we're summing up with the GMU business update this morning, let's have a look at how the Forex rates are as of close of business yesterday. Now, looking at the Forex market, the US dollar buy close of business yesterday was buying at 3,713.96 while selling at 3,723.96. It had opened at 3,699.29 and that is when buying, and then selling was at 3,709.29. The Great British pound was closing at 4,689.61 shillings, while selling at 4,702.24 shillings. Then looking further at the euros, closing at 4,019.24 shillings, while selling at 4,030.06 shillings. Now, the Kenyan shilling, on the other hand, was buying at 25.57 shillings, while selling at 25.64 shillings, and the Tanzanian shilling buying at 1.48 shillings, while selling at 1.49 Ugandan shillings. Then lastly, on the same is the South African rand, while buying at 200.49 shillings, while selling at 201.03 Ugandan shillings. And that is it for our Forex update this morning. Well, keep it. Good morning, Uganda. After the break, Robert Chirabonyonyi returns with the GMU agenda. Big discussions relating to President Museveni pardoning 200 prisoners. How about that for a discussion? Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso, every Wednesday live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
In Bushenyi district, we run a number of programs ranging from service delivery to wealth creation. We have the presidential initiative on wealth creation, a MUGA program, where we have 34 circles that have been given funds for the last 2 years, of which each circle received 33 million and only 2 managed to receive 50 million each. These funds have enabled the different categories of our population to engage into business-related activities, and we can see their incomes getting better. Some of them are into tailoring, others into mechanics, into carpentry, hairdressing, or mention it. And so far, they are running their enterprises smoothly.
My name is Atube Richard, a member of a group called Kanyope, located in Bungatira sub-county. This group started in 2008, but the Prelnol project started supporting us in 2009. The project has offered us training on farming, and the training we got has helped us immensely. We used to farm in a traditional way, planting a variety of crops. But when the team from Prelnor approached us, they asked us to choose particular seeds to grow which can yield very well in our area. We chose groundnuts and rice, which we are growing. With this kind of farming, the project also taught us how to sell as a group after finding a market. The support from the project has been so good to us.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Lovely morning to you, and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyton, and I'm happy because I'm going to be discussing a topic that has sparked a lot of public interest, and also I have a very interesting character. Every time I host this person, I'm excited because of the way he articulates issues, more so when it comes to his department as a spokesperson of one of the forces. Now, who am I talking to? Well, that is Senior Commissioner of Prisons, Frank Baine, who happens to be also the spokesperson of Uganda Prisons. Frank, you're most welcome.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, dear viewers. As you have heard, I'm Senior Commissioner of Prisons, Frank Baine, and I'm glad this morning to come and have a few tidbits on the pertaining situation.
Well, what are we going to discuss? I'm sure you can guess at such a time. What would I be having the prison spokesperson for now? That is the pardoning of 200 inmates from prisons in Uganda. Now, just to give you a little bit of information, when you look at all the prisons we have in this country, they have 39,000 convicts. What do we mean by convicts? These are people who have gone through the judicial process and they have been convicted and sentenced. Now, these are the only people that qualify for the presidential pardon through the prerogative of mercy committee that was set up. Now, 200 received this pardon. People, their relatives are excited. Some have been public concerns, but how do we arrive to this? Why this particular person? So just get ready. That is what you're going to be discussing. And just to remind you, you can also be part of the topic of discussion by simply using the number that is going to be popping up on your screen. Send me a WhatsApp message, send me a text message on that number regarding the topic we are discussing, which is President Museveni pardons 200 inmates based on humanitarian reasons and also health factors. Now, Frank, just give us a background. How do we arrive, or maybe, because for different countries we've seen some reasons they have given, why do we have first in our constitution this prerogative of mercy where the president can pardon inmates?
Well, according to my understanding, a president is a fountain of honor. He can decide to be bad in the extreme, he can be good in the extreme, and that one is all pertained or prescribed in the law. That's why when a person has been proved guilty, especially for the capital offense, and has completed all the appeal process, there is always still one chance. Does the president sign for his death, and in which case it happens in 72 hours, or the president pardons?
So if he signs for his death, which after the signing
you see, people get excited about pardon, but pardon is a package. It can be a pardon of a whole sentence, it can be a pardon of partial the sentence, but it can also be a signature that the person is hanged.
For here, Uganda, you go to the gallows.
Because the machine is still working.
Those things really function.
Very functioning. If you want, I can come, I can try you.
Because I think the last time was it in
1999, but we are servicing them and ready for duty. So let's go back to the what is this pardon now. According to this Constitution of 1995, there is section article actually 121. It clearly talks about prerogative of mercy. And because it is a sensitive matter, it is believed that there is a committee which should always advise the president on what to do. Does he sign for Baine's death, or does he sign for Chirabo's pardon? Now, the chair is the Attorney General and works with other people. Like I said in the content, it clearly says, the president may, on the advice of the committee, grant to any person convicted of an offense a pardon, either free or subject to the lawful conditions. Grant a person of respite, either indefinite or for a specified period from the execution of punishment imposed on him or for her on that particular offense. And that's why substitute a less severe form of punishment for a punishment imposed on a person for an offense, or remit the whole or part of the punishment imposed on a person of a penalty or forfeiture otherwise due to the government on the account of any offense. Of course, they say where a person is sentenced to death for an offense, a written report of the case from the trial judge or judges or person presiding over the court or tribunal, together with such other information derived from the record of the case or elsewhere as may be necessary, shall be submitted to the advisory committee on the prerogative of mercy. A reference of this at court conviction or imposition of the punishment, sentence, or forfeiture includes conviction, imposition of a punishment, penalty, sentence, a forfeiture by a court-martial or other military tribunal except a field court-martial. Now, that one is finished there. The president, it won't reach the president. So, what does it mean? That, yes, these people who have committed crimes, they are sentenced to different categories: capital offenders, minor offenders. But depending on the situation and the goodwill of the president, once in a while, he can look through, of course, also basing on the review made by Uganda Prison Service, give clemency or forgive a particular category of prisoners.
So now we've understood the president derives his powers from the constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Yes. So legally, that is okay.
And that's his discretion.
And that is his discretion. When and he can do it, how often the constitution does not stipulate how often he should do that. Now, let's look at the process, because this is where I also pick interest. There are about 26,000 people in prison.
36,000 actually.
But we are looking at those who are convicts. Because like I told you earlier, it works only on those who have been convicted. And according to what also I know is, for example, all on death row that have concluded the appeal process qualify here. Elder persons who have served 3/4 of their sentence qualify for this. Pregnant and suckling mothers of petty offenses that have finished more than 1/4 of their sentence qualify. Now, what is the procedure? Because I know Uganda prisons, much as there is the prerogative of mercy advisory committee, the Uganda prisons, you have an input here. Let's look at your input first as the prison
service. Of course, we document every prisoner that comes into our custody. And calculating the term of imprisonment or the length of the sentence is the function of prisons. Now, one of our obligations, annual obligation, is that once in a year we submit a return. We call it a return, a list of those people who conventionally fall into the category of those who can be pardoned. Now, I call it conventional because in most cases, when the committee is interested in a particular category, they remove the other ones. For example, like in this case, there was no capital offender that was pardoned, because the first submission was general, including those capital offenders. Then eventually they said no capital offender should be included here. Now it became minor offenders. And that's how the process kept on. We keep on exchanging. We submit, they ask. then those who finally reach the second last stage are supposed to write mitigation statements. Why they think they should qualify for pardon. And they write. And it is assessed. And it is part of the areas they look at, say, is this remorseful? Is this one dodging around? Is this one claiming he's innocent? So that's what they go through. So for us, we compile the list of those categories, as you have mentioned them, we submit. Then they scrutinize, Attorney General and the committee scrutinize, then they ask us to give a bigger profile for those they have picked interest in. Then we provide the profile, we submit. Sometimes in submission, in the middle there, their discussion, I am not privy to your discussion. They could ask a particular category. They say, this one we had removed, but please reinstate. So then we go through. After that, like we started with 1,800 prisoners in submission, but by the end of the day, the final submission was 283. And out of 283, 200 were pardoned. So now, on how they do their business, I think you need to invite the Attorney General or his representative, and he takes you through how they go through this assessment. Because as you have heard, it's a total of 7 people. Attorney General plus 6 others. So it's a committee.
Now, rightly said, it is a committee. The prisons, your list was quite big, and when we look at only 200 eventually qualifying, do you strictly follow just what I've mentioned, that automatically, if I'm a convict, I'm of age, and I've served 3/4 of my sentence, I'll qualify to be on the list that Uganda Prisons is going to send to this committee?
You see, the standing orders late clearly. There is a chapter on pardon. And that's where they tell you the categories. Capital offenders, the only capital offenders who qualify for pardon are all those who are remaining with less than 6 months of their sentence, and all those on death row that have completed their appeal process.
Now,
that is
a pardon of a person who has been in prison for 8 years.
Even 1 day is important.
And is remaining with
Even
6
1
months.
day is important, Robert, in prison. 1 day like this is important. If somebody walked in here and said, don't move away from here for the whole of this day, it will be 48 hours instead of 7 hours. It's a gesture of one way. And you see, for us, it also marries into our rehabilitation program. That
yes, now I get you. Because if someone is receiving a pardon, when they have been in prisons for 10 years, they're remaining with 6 months, it would only make sense then that they want this person to be pardoned after undergoing rehabilitation process.
Because you see, one of the conditions for you to qualify for pardon, you must be disciplined. There must be a sense of reformation in you. And then you must be hardworking. They don't simply recommend. There are those who live out and go inside and continue from where they started from. You can be sure, even if you are falling in this category, your name will not go. Because in review, you don't pass the test of prisons.
So you always review character improvement of inmates.
That's the purpose of having subject them on rehabilitation programs. Yes.
But how effective is your rehabilitation program also?
One of the parameters we judge our rehabilitation program is reoffending. Right now we are at 14% recidivism or reoffending. That out of 100 prisoners that go through our system, only 14 come back. So our performance is at 86%. And that is one of the conventional standards of measuring the rehabilitation program's performance.
Now, after this whole process has been successful, one has gone through the process of leaving prison, because this happened on Sunday, and we saw, I think, yesterday when these were able to leave.
Actually, I announced on Monday, that was around midday, and by 5 p.m. yesterday, all of them were gone.
No one would dare.
Because you cannot keep somebody beyond 24 hours when he has been declared free, unless you have other reasons. So, fortunately, we didn't have any other reasons. So all those who were listed were able to go. Those ones of Ruzira, I even allowed the media to come and talk to them. You saw, if you saw some.
We saw a number of them. We also ran the story here. Most of Jimmy Ramafa thanking His Excellency for that pardon. Now, do these pardon people have a package? Because we know if someone served, I don't want to use, if someone served their sentence and came to an end and they complete their sentence, as prisons, there is some token that this person goes off.
Well, no, normally there is a provision for that they earn the money and then they transport back home. That one is always there. And fortunately, of course, by the time they announced, that money is normally, the OC is the handle and they go home peacefully. And we are hoping that we shall have maybe an 100% compliance, that we don't expect any of them again to come back. But you know, humanities can change with the environment.
Well, we are with the Senior Commissioner of Prisons and Prison Spokesperson, Frank Baine, looking at the presidential pardon that is through the Constitution, where he's given the power to pardon any prisoners under the category we've mentioned, with the advice of the Prerogative of Mercy Committee, and of course the input of Uganda.
And Robert, prisons. Maybe briefly, when you look at the instrument, it is clear why he did what he did. Public health and humanitarian situation. Public health refers to the terminally sick, refers to the suckling mothers and pregnant women. Then humanitarian refers to those. Now, if you took like Mr. Jimmy Ramafa,
who is making people shake heads in wonder.
Yes, when you're in a public office and you make a signature, whether it's you or not, it is you, the accounting officer, that is responsible. But also, like the Bible says, sometimes you do 99 good things. When you do the 100th bad, then you are a sinner. Because he had a record of performance. He had worked for government for over 40 years. He had actually worked as PS for, I think, close to 20 years or more, and with a clean record. So out of that humanitarian, that yes, if a mistake was done here, that is it the end of the road. So that's where somehow that humane part of the president comes out and grants and you know good enough, that's why every instrument of pardon has the reason. If you remember, some time back, we had the aspect of the congestion of prisons.
During COVID, most times.
During COVID time. And you see, like, the president, when he's in his good mood, does many things. Last time we had many remands who are arrested in COVID, but because the presidential pardon does not extend to the remands, he had to negotiate with DPP and court to withdraw cases from those people who were arrested within that bracket time. That was as good as a pardon. And that's why I think we should appreciate the gesture of the fountain of honor. That yes, not all is grim. Committing an offense may not necessarily be a death warrant. And even in our homes, yes, children can do wrong, but sometimes the act of forgiveness brings sanity in the home. For us, of course, we are happy that anybody who gets released earlier also helps us on the congestion part. To have 200 people go in one day, in addition to those we have been discharging on a daily basis, something like 1,800, to us, it's a big thing.
Now, the good thing this time we didn't have capital offenders.
No capital offenders in it.
Pardoned. Yeah. We looked for the prerogative of mercy had other categories except this. Now,
but in the last pardons, actually, the Shamakuk was a capital offender and was pardoned. There was a report who was, and most of those people actually were mad. They were pardoned. So I think it was also a balance that this time let the minor offenders or pet offenders benefit
have, their share.
Yeah.
Now, Frank, we know that what is morally right may not be legally right.
Correct.
There is sometimes there is a contradiction between what is morally right. Our viewer, for example, in Uganda, a girl cannot greet a father while standing up. It would be morally wrong. However, she breaks no law if she chooses to greet the father while standing. Now, legally, it is constitutionally right. It is okay if the president follows the procedure to let anyone off the hook and get pardoned. Morally, to some of the people that could be released, for example, if they were a capital offender, the family, the relatives, in times here where we look at a loss of about 8 billion in the fight of corruption, this may not morally be right. Where do we strike a balance?
Well, all of us deserve to have an element of empathy. And sometimes where there is no loss, there is no gain. I don't want to fit in the shoes of the president. I look at the gesture of, can anyone have a second chance? And the answer is yes. When you go to the Bible, the prodigal son had eaten all his things. But when he decided to come back, God made a party and gave him another what? Another property. Of course, his brothers were complaining that with them they had worked hard and they had not been considered. But the head of the family was looking at the unity of the family because they were all his what? His children. So when we are citizens of the country, the president works as a father. He looks at the bigger picture. Well, I don't know, even by coincidence, this is the time we're celebrating 50 years of his marriage. I think he was in good moods and acceptable. And Ugandans, we should also learn to be positive. Yes, not everything must be done always must be perfect. We must let's look at the underlying reasons than the surface condemnations. Sometimes I want to use the Bible. Like you remember when the disciples of Jesus brought this woman who had committed adultery. And he did one thing. He said, okay, the law says an adulterous woman must be beaten. But let's come to our senses. If you have never done it, please start. And by the end of the day, nobody did.
Be the first to cast the stone.
So even those who are jittery and complaining, if they were asked to be the ones to throw the first stone, because everybody's cupboard has skeletons, but some have been exposed, others have not been exposed. And to me, I am not a pessimist. I want to go with the optimism.
Well, let me look at some of the messages that are coming in. I find that Baine, I know that a tricky one for him to answer, definitely. Well, you can keep the messages coming in and let me read. I'll read all these messages.
It's okay.
Some, they could have been addressed already. Good morning, UBC. Which crime did that PS commit. And why him? There are people like Chandi Jamwar of NSSF who has stayed in Luzila for long. Why wasn't he not also released? Pardoning rich people like PS means promoting serious corruption in the country. Alfred Onyango watching from Acheti in B. Tororo. Coming in, good morning, Chirabo. Thanks for hosting that great and resourceful man of God. Frank is versatile, knowledgeable, and commands the aspect of, well, there is so much praises here. I won't go in for those. Why don't you want to read them? You didn't come here to be praised, Steve. You came here to address issues. Good morning, Esther from Arua. I am grateful for the decision. I would like to know, are these names submitted from specific prisons only? All names are across, checked from all over the country. I think Esther deserves an answer.
Well, we submit from all the 260 prisons, as long as they are prisoners in that category. If you notice, like those who looked at the instrument, because I gave it out, there was no upper prison. Because upper prison, there is no space for a petty offender. Upper prison is specifically a prison for capital offenders. And there was no capital offender in this. But in the previous pardons, actually 3/4 of the pardons were for people in upper prison.
And we've had prominent people. I remember the times of Rakasisi.
The Wakasisi, the Nasuru, the Arfaduru. Many people have come out on capital offenses. But this time round, the committee and the president deemed fit that they should now concentrate on the minor offenders. And I think we should thank them for that. Because there is a time when we...
a reminder, please do not call on this number. Just send me a WhatsApp or a text message. It will, so that it doesn't inconvenience my reading out of...
Dear viewers and Robert, there is a time we would spend 3-4 years without any pardon. Actually now, I am very happy that the president is active. Almost every year there is some pardon, which is a gesture. It is not only done by him. Worldwide it's being done. Whether even in a neighborhood, they have been doing these things. So it's not reinventing the wheel really. It's part of the obligations and discretion that falls under the control of the.
I love the way the US does it. Every president, as his term is coming to an end, he has a prerogative of mercy to pardon some inmates. I think for them it's for political reasons, that in case during your term there were people who you feel you don't want to leave behind bars or that could have made mistakes for some reasons, please pardon them. But for Uganda, of course the constitution doesn't stipulate as and when the president must. But
and I have to make it categorically clear, there was no political prisoner released.
Do you have political prisoners in Uganda prisons?
Political prisoners are those on treason, terrorism. Yeah, and those cases.
Those cases. Yeah. Okay, so this talk of these supporters who are there, those
ones incidentally are on different cases. They are there for murder, they are there for kidnap. Those are not political. You are only a political prisoner if you are on political charges, treason, misprision of treason, terrorism. Those are the ones.
Well, let's look at more of these messages coming in. What criteria is being used to identify these prisoners? Because I believe that the entire Uganda has more than 200 prisoners with health challenges.
I said the categories are clear. For minor offenders, a prisoner must have finished 50% of their sentence. Not all minor offenders, no. You must have finished 50% of your sentence. The terminally
minor, the same as petty?
Those are petty, yeah. Okay. Those who commit misdemeanors. Now, for the terminally sick, it's suggested a bit that this person should have finished a quarter of their sentence. But it must be terminally sick. terminally sick is not sick. It is very, very, very sick with these conditions, like in the advanced stages of cancer, the advanced stage of AIDS. So and those can't be very many. Now, of course, if we have 2,800, I mean we have 248 babies. Now, you will find that out of the 248 mothers,
these came with their babies or delivered while?
Most of them come with their babies, and others pregnant, but you'll find that the majority of these women are actually on capital charges because of those emotional
crimes of passion.
So you'll find that the pet offenders are actually about 50. Now, of the 50, you'll find that like maybe 15 are the ones who have finished 50%. So that's why those categories are very, very, very clear. Like I told you, if you are a capital offender, whether 30, 50 years, if you are not remaining with less than 6 months, you are not put there.
It's not fair for capital offenders.
Because capital offenders, even the process of trying them is not an easy one.
Yes, true.
And even the harm that you have caused because of the offenses they committed to society is higher. That is why somebody who was imprisoned like 4 years, he has already served 3 years for stealing a chicken, he can't go.
Well, I think that answers the criteria, my brother who sent that message. Now, equally, the bicycle saga convicts include P.S. Kashaka and his colleagues would have qualified since the magnitude of their offense in comparison to P.S. Ramafa look the same. Didn't you think that the consideration is political and not even?
Well, what I know about it is that actually all those Jamwas, Kashakas, and the like, we had submitted their names. But the committee, it is the committee's discretion. It is the president's discretion to decide who to pardon and who not to pardon. And I think we should leave it to the president and the committee. They are the professionals. When they say you are going to theater for an operation, for goodness sake, it's the doctor going to operate you that decides where you to cut from which side, which angle to angle. Let's not take the doctor to the theater and then he say, please you cut vertically, don't move diagonally. I think we are going deep into some of these things.
Well, time seems to be flying, and we must end this at that. For the families that received their loved ones, well, we are sure the Lord has answered your prayers. For those that returned, it is time for to disappoint His Excellency, and of course the advisory committee on this. But before I let you go, Frank, what is your last message to Uganda?
My last message is that if you are behind bars and you are a convict, there is always a chance of pardon. But it is based on 3 things: hard work, discipline, and patience. And of course, prayer to God. For the ones outside, please, instead of hoping to go to the prison to wait for pardon, don't cross the line. I always tell you, we don't invite anybody, but we will welcome whoever comes, as long as you come through the proper channels. Even regardless of the congestion, there is always a space for a wrongdoer, for God and my country.
You don't welcome anybody, but you don't invite anybody.
But we
welcome whoever comes. Well, one man once said, everyone is a potential prisoner, but do all it takes not to be at the University of Understanding. And of course, let's all ensure we make lives of prisoners and we make prisons a better place than what it is today. I remember a minister state who said God had an intention for him to go to this place under the Mabati saga. I hope he has done so much to improve the place, because you don't know when next you may visit the same place. See you in the next hour. Ruben is here to take you through sports updates for God and my country.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Granny.
What did you do this weekend?
Well, on Friday, I went on a science trip with my classmates to Windy to see the gorillas.
Then we watched the cup final in London.
Oh.
On Saturday, my friends and I met up to hunt some dragons again. Also, I taught the vacuum cleaner and the TV this new dance everyone's doing. They're really getting into it. And on Sunday, I went to bed watching the world from space.
With Airtel 5G's lightning-fast speed and seamless connectivity, you won't believe what's next.
Airtel.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.